Hi. There aren't many rappers who can cause a reaction like this.
Oh my God.
Or this.
Oh my God.
Or even this.
Oh my God.
But Dave can. Picture the scene. It's 2010 on a cold November evening, and I'm standing on the platform of New Cross Station. I have a new song on my BlackBerry Curve 3G, which my friend Bluetoothed to me in the playground earlier that day. It's called Days and Nights by a UK grime rapper called Devlin. I had nothing better to do. I was waiting for a train, so I turned it up in my headphones and started to listen. I remember very clearly that is when my love and obsession with UK grime and rap started. I hadn't ever really given this kind of music a chance. Before this, I was listening to Teenage Dream by Katy Perry, which was released in the same year. So when the angsty, dark, Essex-tinged tones of Devlin's voice hit my ears, it was like nothing I'd ever heard. I distinctly remember the lyric, "My metaphors go over your head like a buttonless jumper." I don't know why, but I was so enthralled by this wordplay and so impressed by the rapper who had created it that all I wanted was to listen to everything he had ever made. I was also kind of offended that he thought his metaphors would go over my head, so I made effort to listen to every single song on his album. A huge nod also has to be given to Mike Righteous. He released his warm-up sessions on SPTV where he's rapping in a car. That came out when I was in school, and I remember thinking, oh my god, he's being so honest. He's saying stuff that doesn't make him look good. I'll chuck the link in the description if you want to watch that video. I highly, highly recommend it. And I think he's also recently come out with some more new stuff, but I haven't listened to any of that yet. I absolutely banged out every single song on Devlin's Blood, Sweat and Tears album. I challenged my 15-year-old self to try and understand every single bar, every single metaphor he had so expertly woven into the lyrics. So imagine my amazement 7 years later in 2017 when I was sitting in the bathtub at my mum's house in Middlesbrough and one of my friends sent me the song How I Met My Ex by this guy Dave, who I'd never heard of. I literally sat there, jaw in the water, as I listened to this guy whose voice I had never heard before tell me the story of how he met his ex, how their relationship developed, and ultimately how it ended. It was so honest, so insightful, and so raw. I became absolutely obsessed with listening to his music. I truly felt that his lyrics blew anything I had ever heard before well and truly out of the water. I stuck on Question Time immediately after, and then my 19th birthday, and pretty much listened to his entire Game Over, is it a mixtape? I think it's not an album, maybe it's an EP. I listened to the entire thing all the way through. Believe it or not, in 2019 I was absolutely smashing the gym, and I would walk about not even a kilometre to the gym every single day. I would always stick on Dave's Psychodrama album, and I would genuinely frequently stop in my tracks, as in I'm walking and I would stop walking and be like, oh my god, and wish that I had someone standing there with me so that I could explain to them the wordplay that I had finally understood. Through listening to that album, I became completely and utterly convinced that Dave is a genuine, literal fucking genius. He's thoughtful, insightful, honest and intelligent. The work he creates is important and meaningful, not to mention impressive, and all I want to do in this video is give him just one jot of the praise he deserves. It is my opinion that he is an absolute poet. I'm not going to get into the boring semantics of whether rap is poetry or not. It without a doubt is. But whether you think it is or not, there's absolutely no denying that some of these rappers are out here creating literal art. Lucky for me, this is my channel and I can talk about whatever the hell I want and no one can stop me. I'm now going to methodically lay down praise and worship for the wonder that is Dave, breaking down my reasons for admiring him, highlighting the beauty of his lyrics, and generally just paying my respects. Here we go. One of the main reasons that Dave got as successful as he did is because from the very start he was an incredible wordsmith. He came out of the gate with powerful, clever lyrics. There are examples of these scattered throughout his discography, but from his lesser known earlier tracks there are a lot of gems. In his song Karma, which he debuted on Pac-Man TV, by the way, link to that and everything else I mentioned will all be in the description, including my sources. This song is a less than 3-minute glimpse into his mindset, surroundings and lifestyle aged 16. In this track he does give us one of his kind of earlier cool wordplays. He says, "The roads will get a boy changed like Pampers, cause the hantings had the ends intense like campers." The simple wordplay of intense and intense, as in camping, is not even the tip of the iceberg of the absolute gems that we're going to get into in this video. All of his early stuff is peppered with this. It was perhaps not as clean and as impeccable as his more recent stuff is, but you can clearly see the potential is there. Take a look at his song Street Stars Freestyle. It does lack some of the sophistication of his more recent work, but it 100% has flashes of genius. For example, I've rapped to 500 guys and all of them said that I'm hard. I've got prison in my blood down to my red blood cells. All them fuckers got bars. Not only is it clever, it's kind of funny. Often when I hear one of his lyrics, if I like read it out loud like I just did, it's kind of awkward me reading Dave's lyrics, but I hear it and I'm just like, man, he really thought of that. Not only did he write and memorize this entire rap, he also did it in one take. Somebody in one of Dave's YouTube comments from about 8 years ago says, he's not bad, you know, I could see him blowing if he pushes and is consistent with music. Well, that's exactly what he did, and look where he is now. He showed us back then that even though it was early in his career, he had the potential to write these incredible lyrics. I will cover more on Dave's lyrics in a bit. Something which was present in Dave's early work, but also stays with him to this day, is just how honest he is. I was at a work event the other day and there was this really old guy, I think he was like 75, who had just done a creative writing course, and he said, writing serves a moral purpose in forcing the reader to see the world through the writer's eyes. It's my opinion that this is something that Dave does again and again. During my researching stages for this video, I found this gorgeous documentary on YouTube called Picture Me, a Dave documentary. I'll link it in the description, where Dave says,
I guess it just started off as just express myself, really, just getting how I feel out there, and then got to a point where people felt as if it was good enough to share and my experiences could help others who are in the same position as me.
This is so true, and a top comment on this video says, Dave has saved so many people and he doesn't even know it. One of the topics Dave does this with, and he is unbelievably candid about, is his love-hate relationship with the streets, or gang violence, or the road lifestyle. He shows this tension in his early work, which is arguably even more impressive and even harder to do, because at the time he was still in it. For example, in his Street Bars freestyle, where he says, look, certain times I hate road. Fam, it's like, how can I say this? My brother's lost out to the system. It's like, how do I sit here and make this? He's so honest and yet so self-aware of the context that he's speaking in. That is easier to do when you're a successful millionaire rapper. As a young 16-year-old who is still very much making their money from the streets, it's very open of him to actually admit in his early work that he's not sure that he's doing the right thing. In his song Psycho, he says, hiding crow in a Rubicon drink, which is funny because that's how we put food in the fridge. This alludes to the fact that he's literally feeding his family by selling drugs. So, in my opinion, he's being unbelievably candid by sharing the darker side of his experiences. He also does this in his song Karma, where he says, every N-word wants to be a gangster, every N-word wants to hold a strap, every N-word thinks a shank is banter until you're looking at your N-word breathing through a tube like he's struggling to breathe and he can't even speak or move, and now you're thinking, what the fuck did I sign up for? And it goes on. From the start of his career, Dave seems to be super open and honest about his almost like love-hate relationship between the streets and the fact that that's how he makes his money. As he becomes more successful, he arguably moves further away from that lifestyle, which makes it easier for him to comment on how he actually feels about it. But the fact that he's being that open whilst he's still 16 years old and while he's still in it, I think that's quite powerful. And by the time he releases Hangman in 2018, a couple of years after Street Stars and Karma, when he had seen a little bit more commercial success, he raps, so what's gangster then? Because I don't really know, if I'm honest. When we were young, we had dreams of being bosses, ballers, doctors, lawyers in an office. So how did that turn into dropping out of college, snaps in a prison cell, bodies in a coffin, London is cursed, this city has a problem? These lyrics show that perhaps Dave's perspective has kind of changed in the last few years. But he is definitely comfortable admitting, as time goes on, that he doesn't really think violence is cool, and he definitely thinks that London has a problem.
Because London's in a crazy place right now. It's so positive in certain areas and so negative in certain areas, and I feel like knife crime's obviously a huge issue.
Although in his song Verdansk, he does rap, chill with the stupid looks or it's going to be a kettle that I use to cook, which shows that he still has his edge. It's also funny because that is some of the best wordplay that Dave has in this album. Apologies if you already know this, I'm not sure like who's watching this video, so I don't know what kind of context you'll have, but in the UK the only way you can really cook in your prison cell is using a kettle. So Dave is basically saying, chill with the stupid looks or I'm going to do something that means I end up in prison. I actually have a screenshot from when I clocked this lyric back in 2021. Bear in mind that by that time I've been listening to Verdansk for 3 months. There is also a time when I finally twigged the wordplay in one of Dave's songs 4 years after I'd been listening to the song. I even text my mum about it, so I'll chuck up a screen grab of that conversation. Another way in which Dave's work is so entirely honest is that he tells us things that don't even make him look good. hard. Maybe he does this to be relatable, maybe he does it because it's just the truth. For example, in his song We're All Alone, Dave raps, "I knew my life was a film from when I had to share a bed with my mum and I was pissing myself." The reason this is so effective is because he's this young, successful rapper and he's bothering to tell us about how he used to piss himself. It's so bloody real, and it's one of the things that I love about his work. Another thing that I super rate Dave for is his honesty about his struggles with mental health, because this absolutely contributes towards lessening the stigma, particularly for men. Something about hearing Dave talking so openly and so candidly about his struggles with mental health with so much nuance on such a big stage is incredibly powerful. Under one of Dave's early videos from about 8 years ago, somebody called Rebecca Lane says, "He's going to be a blessing on the scene, just wait for it. He's different in the way he raps. He actually raps what he's feeling, and that's unique in a rapper, but something they don't often learn till they've developed. He's already there, and he's only 16. And I think she's totally right there. He absolutely does rap how he feels, and he always has. There's a brilliant Rap Radar interview with Dave, which I'll link in the description, and I'll put a screen grab of it right here. But in that video, he gives us a much deeper insight into why he writes what he does and why he includes what he chooses to include in his lyrics, including about topics that relate to his family, so I highly recommend watching that. In a 2019 article for the NME, L. Hunt writes, he's open about mental health and his experience in therapy. Psychodrama is scattered with spoken excerpts from Dave's psychotherapist, and the whole record is concerned with openness and honesty. Tuesday, 23rd of January 2018. I'm here with David. This is our first session, the therapist says, opening the album. We're just going to talk about your background, where you're from, any issues you've been dealing with. So, where should we start? His voice is sampled again on Purple Heart and Environment, conversations with his incarcerated brother, who is having therapy while serving his sentence, also inspired the album's overarching concept. I'll link that Enemy article down there. His entire album, Psychodrama, is about the fucked up shit that's going on in his head. He shows the ups and downs and rounds of mental health. He shows the confusion and the nuance, and he expertly illustrates how the voices in his head fuck with him. He isn't offering solutions. He isn't trying to make it sound like it will all be okay. He's simply there in his feelings, and he invites us to join him. It's impeccable, so real, so deep. Anything I say about it here will not cover one iota of the masterpiece that Psychodrama is. In the track Psycho, which I think is the first track on the album, Dave says, "Tears on a pillow, bro, I shed so many tears on a pillow. I used to tell my teachers that nobody gets it. I don't know Clark, but I know that I'm a kiddo, because my mummy ain't been home, Miss thinks I'm involved, blame my environment, it made me a sicko." I won't harp on the incredible wordplay of "I don't know Clark, but I know that I'm a kiddo," because Noel Clark was in the famous, I think it was like 2006 film, Kidulthood. These lyrics are so real, so deep. It's not just boo-hoo, woe is me. There's themes of him admitting his struggles, but then actually rising from the ashes, actually using what he's been through to help him. He says, "I used to hear a voice when I was praying, but nowadays I don't even want to be saved. Nah, fuck that, I don't want to be saved. I was born to be wild, I don't want to be tamed. Talent's in my blood, I don't want to be vain. But if I'm a psycho, then I don't want to be sane." I know me and Dave are miles apart, but he somehow manages to capture just that true experience of being human. Yes, we've been through shit, and speaking for myself, yes, it's fucked me up, but I wouldn't take it back because it's made me who I am. I wouldn't try to speak for Dave on this topic, but it sounds like he understands that bad things happen, but we push through and grow from it. Seeing him admit to and own his trauma and flourish from the roots of what he was given in life is, in my opinion, inspiring and beautiful to watch. I found a Reddit thread where somebody posted, "And if any of you are battling depression or anxiety, listen to Psycho and remember that even someone as talented and successful as Dave has still been through the same struggle. Look where he ended up. There is light at the end of the tunnel." I really appreciate this. People out there truly glean something from his work and his openness to discuss his mental health struggles. The insight that he's willing to give to strangers out there on the internet is pretty powerful. He has this lyric which always hits me. "Brother, I'm a careful, humble, reckless, arrogant, extravagant N-word, probably battling with manic depression." Let me pause here to say now that the nuance in these words, the way that they're like opposites of each other is so powerful. He understands that they're all different, but he is them all. Amazing. Man, I think I'm going mad again. It's like I'm happy for a second, then I'm sad again. And to my fans, the reason I could get to this, you're my drug, the instrumental, my therapist. Man, I need some therapy. My girl's saying that she'll never leave. I'm scared she's going to find a better me. Deeper insecurities, like what if I don't leave a legacy? Money, why they check for me? Mummy lost respect for me. I wish we could be together, but that's not how life works. I used to cry about my dad till my fucking eyes burnt, nose running. You don't know nothing. Before I put a penny on the table, I provided for my family. Held my mum's hand through the agony. Do you ever force sleep because because you don't want to be awake. In a way, you're tired of the reality you face. If you're thinking about doing it, suicide doesn't stop the pain, you're only moving it. Lives that you're ruining, thoughts of a world without you in it, hiding. I ain't psycho, but my life is. These lyrics, and by the way, please click the link in my bio or go and listen to this album on your own. I genuinely apologise for my awkward butchering of these lyrics. I just can't play the songs because of copyright, but me reading them means nothing compared to hearing Dave actually rap them. So what I'm trying to show here is the way that Dave opens his heart up. He's so very honest about his experience and his feelings and the shit he's been through and his need for therapy. I truly respect him so much for that. Dave seems to be quite the advocate for counselling or therapy. In his song We're All Alone, he says, I got a message from a kid on Sunday morning saying he don't know what to do and he's thinking of killing himself. Me and him got more in common than he thinks, but I tell him to see a shrink so I can go on and live with myself. Someone who is as cool as Dave, who is as talented and has as much influence and reach into the minds of young people, saying that we need counselling and therapy is so powerful. It sounds basic, saying, yeah, see a shrink. And sure, there are other issues to consider, like how would you pay for it? But I think the effort he does make to try and normalise counselling and therapy is really good. Although Dave does seem to appreciate some of his less than legal activities in the past, which help him to, in his words, put food on the table, he has pretty much always given an anti-violence message. Even right at the start of his career, in his early Black Box freestyle, he says, my ends is all fucked now, got an N-word trying to cut now, I've been to the end of that road, bruv, I've been to them graveyards. He seems to be conscious of his responsibility, particularly as he becomes more famous, not to promote violence, and I believe he's successful at this. One of the most absolutely powerful ways that he conveys his belief in equality and justice is through his song Black. It absolutely gives me chills, particularly the performance that he did at the Brits. I feel lucky and blessed that he decided to share that experience with the wider world and make the music video, which is also a beautiful piece of art. Rather than bang on about my own opinion, here are some views of other YouTubers who have reacted to Black. The YouTuber Laid Back gives some super powerful insight. He says,
but we're not gonna act like this shit don't happen, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not walking around angry every day or nothing like that, but I'm just saying, like, there is obstacles in my way, in his way, in our way. We all have our own obstacles and we all have our things that we gotta fight. He's talking about his specific fight as far as being black. He's not discrediting or downplaying nobody else's plight or nothing like that. He's just talking about the black struggle. Now, like I said before, being pro-black does not mean anti-white or anti any other race. It just means I'm for the betterment of my people specifically and as a whole of humanity.
I absolutely appreciated hearing Laid Back's views on this, and I think it's extremely right. If you have any common sense as a white person, you should have absolutely no issue with Dave's song Black. And I think widely it has been accepted for the fucking masterpiece that it is. And I like what DJ Annie Mac said. If you're genuinely offended by the idea of a man talking about the colour of his skin and how it's shaped his identity, then that is a problem for you. In her piece for the Metro, freelance journalist Habiba Katcher says, Black is a pro-black song, not anti-white. Annie Mac was right to play it and defend it. Being pro-black is not about black people thinking we're superior. It's a reminder to ourselves that we are equal. As a black Brit, I have no desire to see myself above any other race. Rather, I just want black people to be seen as human. Creators Dead Hawk and Cash also made a reaction video to Black, and what they had to say was also very interesting.
Man, that right there was powerful, man.
That make you feel good in the inside, man. But all what Dave was saying was the truth. Like,
yes.
How hard you gotta go, how they lied to us.
You're guilty to prove innocent.
You're guilty to prove innocent. I mean, everything. You can just keep going.
Reparations, for our ancestors being on the plantation and stuff like that. I mean, heck yeah, man.
Lying to us, who we really.
All we want is equal opportunities and unity, and that's it.
That's it.
I mean, shoot.
There are loads and loads of response videos on YouTube of people watching Black and Dave's other content, so please, by all means, click the link in the description where I've chucked in loads of them. I specifically recommend the reaction video of Munfo Prophet, who is just so moving in his response to Black, and I think it's beautiful, the whole video. So again, Again, I'll link it down there. A comment under that video is really quite insightful too. It mentions how the pianist in the performance is a white man wearing a black suit and Dave is a black man wearing a white suit. It's such a beautiful show of unity, and it's so clear to anybody with a brain that that is what Dave wants. Like Laidback said in the video that I showed earlier, being pro-black does not mean anti-white or anti any other race. It just means I'm for the betterment of my people specifically and as a whole of humanity. And it's clear that that's what Dave wants too. Like he says about Jack Merritt, who is the guy who was killed in the London Bridge attacks in 2019. I think Dave shares Jack's views and his own views beautifully when he writes, "All he would want is unity, funding for communities, equal opportunities, people under scrutiny, no more immunity, way less hatred, more conservation, less deforestation. We want rehabilitation, now that would be amazing, but Grenfell victims still need accommodation, and we still need support for the Windrush generation, reparations for the time our people spent on plantations." I'm done. It's powerful stuff, and it is a message of unity. It is not a message of any kind of division. It is not an anti-white message at all. I just took a little break and ate some pecans, so if you can see pecan in my tooth, I'm sorry. Kemi Alamoru did an amazing review of the song Black on Dazed. She called it the race history lesson that the UK needs. She writes, "Britain has its own issues with the mass incarceration of black people. Proportionately, black people are more likely to end up in our jail system than African Americans are in the US, according to a recent David Lammy report." I'll link that report in the description. We needed somebody in the burgeoning UK rap scene to connect the dots and lay these experiences bare for its growing audience. The point I'm trying to make here is that Dave talks about the things that matter, and that is what I and so many other people love about his work. In his 2020 performance of Black at the Brits, Dave adds the additional verse where he says, "Equality is a right, it doesn't deserve credit. If you don't want to get it, then you're never going to get it. How the news treats Kate versus how they treated Meghan." I'm going to add some examples of the Meghan-Kate stuff right here so you can see like the same thing done by both women and how the articles were like this for Kate and like this for Meghan. Absolute bullshit. Dave's work is full of sublime insights just like this one. He's just constantly hitting the nail on the head. So many different nails, and he's just whacking them all over the place. The final one is a nod to misogyny. Dave does say in a fair few interviews that he wants to consider how women will feel when they listen to his music, and I've seen him mention women quite a lot. He definitely does have some things where it's a bit like, okay, yeah, that does kind of read as misogynistic. He certainly isn't as bad as some rappers, but that's not an excuse. Editing Rachel here, I realise now that I have kind of skirted over the question of whether Dave is misogynistic or not, because I got far too excited breaking down this wordplay. There are lyrics where Dave is without a doubt 100% misogynistic, and there's no way of getting around that. Please take this Editing Rachel section as me making it very clear that, yeah, there are some misogynistic parts, even though Dave claims to not be. I don't feel like I'd be doing my due diligence by not mentioning this in a video in praise of Dave. I definitely don't want to skirt over this whatsoever. Dave has been misogynistic in some of his lyrics, without a doubt, and that is not okay. But in the ones I'm about to break down, he does claim not to be. Okay, back to the video. Speaking on misogyny for himself, Dave raps, "What you know about telling a 10-10 to keep her clothes on and moving good? I ain't on beating or misogyny, it's mahogany, I've got bougie wood." Now, I don't know who's watching this video, so I don't know what your like contextual knowledge is of UK slang, so I am going to break this one down like you're 5 years old, just because, you know, I want it to be explicitly clear the beauty of what Dave has done in this phrase. So, what do you know about telling a 10-10 to keep her clothes on and moving good? He's saying no to having sex with women that are 10 out of 10, so 10 out of 10 good looking, because that's the right thing to do, or it's not good to be having sex with loads of random girls. I ain't on beating or misogyny. If you're not on something, it means that you're not interested in doing it, you don't want to take part, like I'm not on that means I don't want to do that. And beating is UK slang for sex. So here he's saying he's not interested in having sex or misogyny. So I ain't on beating or misogyny, it's mahogany, I've got bougie wood. Just in case you need that breaking down, mahogany is obviously a very, very fancy kind of wood, and when he says I've got bougie wood, he's referring to mahogany, but he's also referring to his penis, because wood is slang or kind of like a word for your dick. Just fucking immense. This line is fantastic for so many reasons. Not only has he rhymed mahogany and misogyny, but he's managed to make it actually mean something. The double entendre, the fucking rhyming, I mean, my god, the talent, bloody perfection. Another time where Dave comments on exactly what needs to be said at exactly the right time is in his 2017 song Question Time. The song basically comes for Theresa May, who was the Prime Minister at the time. He asks her all kinds of questions concerning social justice, like Brexit, the NHS, increasing uni fees, and once again he hits us with that insane wordplay when he brings up Palestine. He says, "I just find it funny you can't give a hand to Palestine, but you can trade whole arms with Saudi Arabia." How fucking heartbreaking that that was relevant in 2017 and it's even more relevant now in 2024. Have we learned nothing? I'll link Question Time in the description, but one of the most kind of powerful things that he mentions in this video is the Grenfell Tower fire and the crappy, awful response that the Prime Minister gave. If you're not from the UK, there's probably a fair chance that you've not heard of the Grenfell fire. What it was a massive tower block in West London. I believe it was like near Ladbroke Grove. Basically, there was a fire on one of the floors and the entire building was cladded with an illegal material, so it basically meant that the whole building just went up in flames, way worse than it would have done if it wasn't cladded in that flammable material. On this topic, Dave says, "I've got a question for the new Prime Minister. At Grenfell Tower, your response was ridiculous. You hid like a coward behind your 5 million, dodged responsibility and acted like you're innocent. And I can see you're terrified. You're no good at telling lies. I'm getting why you stay away from everything that's televised. You look like a robot. You don't speak with any life. It feels to me like any guy in press could have said them lines. Imagine going to the council for the safety of your blog and you've got kids, but they're ignoring you at every time. Everyone who knew about that cladding should really be going to prison under the rule of joint enterprise." He's so fucking right. But if it ain't a little kid with a knife, I bet that judge is going easy when he's giving him time. They don't deserve to be free. Any builder, MP that knew about the conditions but did it to save cheese. When I listened to the things that the residents had seen, I was so shocked I couldn't even speak. Families they know that had died in their sleep, how you choke on the smoke when you're struggling to breathe, the glow from the fire, the panic when you hear all the sirens, the crackling, the popping and muffled out screams, the fear in the eyes of a man that was trapped who jumped 15 floors from the tower to the street. I could only hear a fraction of the pain and the grief, closing my eyes, trying hard not to cry, and the joy and relief in the face of a man when a woman from a flat said his neighbour was alive. No help from the council in keeping any list of the people that survived, his neighbours and peers, and for that whole meeting I can see that he was trying, so his smile was an island in a sea full of tears. We can see from these lyrics that not only is Dave unbelievably insightful and deep, he's using his platform to say the things that need to be said, and I love that about him. Focusing now on the writing, the lyrics, the wordplay, and the kind of like stuff that I love. I am in a second going to hit you with all of my favourite lyrics, but first I just want to have a mention for rhyme. I had an English teacher in year 7 who hated rhyme. He said rhyme holds writers back because it often is forfeited for meaning, so you'll reach for the rhyme rather than saying what you actually need to say. When I did my creative writing module during my degree, my lecturer told me to avoid rhyme at all costs because it cheapens the work. This is not so with Dave. His whole discography is a masterclass in rhyming. It's not just the rhymes, it's the words themselves. He shows us that he can absolutely make his lyrics rhyme and still retain every ounce of meaning. An amazing example of this is the extra verse that he chucks onto the end of his Brit performance of Black. I've already read that, so I won't read it again, but if you click back and listen to that again, but just think about the rhyme and the way that he makes those words fit. He rhymes words together that don't even rhyme. It has got a little bit of the Eminem orange, and there's a really funny clip where Eminem goes, "I put my
orange 4-inch door hinge in storage and ate porridge with George."
I could do another whole video about Eminem, but we won't do that right now. So, finally, the lyrics. I'm going to read you just my favourite Dave lyrics. In his song Purple Heart, asked her, "Can you do it like the last time?" She said, "I can, sir, and I ain't talking about the star sign." And in the same song, "But girl, I can't lie, you're a gem and I ain't even talking about the star sign." Another one, fucking fantastic. From the song Streatham, "I don't want to do you and I like I'm in Leicester skipping my lectures." You and I as in uni. This is up there with one of my favourite ones from his song Streatham. "My young G done drawers and eighths, now he's cutting through bricks like the 118. Obviously drawers and eighths are referring to measurements of how much weed you can buy. So he's basically saying he used to sell drawers and eighths, but now he's cutting through bricks, as in a whole brick of cocaine, which is worth way more money. But also the 118 is a bus which goes through Brixton. It's just fucking amazing. In Location, he raps, "Look, money like the alphabet. If you want to see P's, got to pass on the N's." So like the alphabet, fucking fantastic. From 71/end credits, 16 I saw my first grand, then I went to Prada and I lost it. It's like I cremated Moses because man was just burning profit. Oh my fucking god. From Two Birds No Stones, he raps, "She said my music's like silk, it inspired her. I'm more like apples, I'm insider." Another one of my favourites from my 19th birthday, "I'm in Los Angeles driving a Mercedes," and it's funny because honestly I didn't think I'd see LA, and CLA is a kind of Mercedes, and obviously he didn't think he'd see LA. I absolutely love in We're All Alone This Together when he says you've got points on your creative license. It's not wordplay, but I just think it's fantastic. In Environment, he raps, "My ex-girl want to shoot a cover for Vogue," which is pretty ironic because she's top of the range, and a Vogue is a type of Range Rover. And then finally, another one from Streatham, "Nudes in the message, putting in effort, but I don't need a me and you, like when a chef would eat at his restaurant. But I don't need a me, N-U, M-E-N-U, menu, and chefs who eat in their own restaurant don't need a menu because they created the menu." Just fucking amazing. He's so talented. When I was scripting this video, I became aware that it's not that smart to put a video on the internet of you just singing the praises of one particular person, because it could age badly. God forbid something awful comes out about Dave and I end up looking like a sausage for making this video. I back him not to do anything stupid and make me look like an idiot, but if that does happen, then so be it. I did want to cover what was expressed to me as one of the flaws that some people see in Dave, and that is that he's arrogant. All I have to say to that is, wouldn't you be? If you were as successful as Dave is, wouldn't you be at least a little bit arrogant? If you had earned so much money that your mum, who had been working multiple jobs, now drives a Mercedes which you bought her, I think that would be cause to be somewhat arrogant, particularly if you had Stormzy in the comments of that Instagram post calling you a gangster. In fact, one of the things that shows me that Dave probably isn't an asshole is how he treats his mum. When Psychodrama won the Hyundai Mercury Prize in 2019, Dave celebrated with his mum, pulling her up on stage and jumping around hugging her. The clips of this are so moving, and Dave consistently mentions his mum in his lyrics, in his interviews. It's really obvious that he rates that woman and cares about her so much, and in my opinion, you know, that is a mark of somebody who, well, I know, I was about to say that is a mark of somebody who's a good person, not necessarily, because I'm sure that everyone loves their mum, even people who are assholes, but it's still heartwarming to see like a young cool rapper love his mum so much. And yes, he has a lot of watches, he clearly spends a lot of money on jewelry and clothes, but fucking fine. If I was a millionaire, I would own even more books than I already do. If I had the money that he has, I would have a fleet of pink cars in like increasingly bright shades of pink. So I'm not going to be mad at him spending money on his passion, whatever. Plus, Dave does address his arrogance in his lyrics. In Psycho, he raps, "I love this game, I ain't lost focus. I'm a hit maker if you haven't noticed. I could be the rapper with the message like you're hoping, but what's the point in me being the best if no one knows it?" Fair play. The nuance in all of his lyrics, particularly in the lyrics I read earlier, where he calls himself arrogant and humble and careful and reckless. He's a fucking genius, and in my opinion, it's completely fine that he knows that. I will end this video with a few choice words from Dave's very good friend, Stormzy. "I've been the GOAT for so long that they never hype it N-word up, so I guess I've got to do it to myself." And to that I say, Dave doesn't need to worry, this video will always be here hyping him up. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!